2 weeks ago, I shuffled onto my porch at Saguache, Colorado, and saw an orange slip glowing under my wiper. $700. My hands trembled, knees aching. The paper shouted, improper vehicle storage, overnight. I whispered, overnight? In my own driveway? My chest thumped like a slow drum. Coffee went bitter in my mouth. I felt small, cornered, angry. Before we continue, please drop a like and comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Australia, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France, I want to know. Don't just sit back, tell me where in the world you are. Now, let's dive into the story. Across the cul-de-sac, Karen stood with her clipboard, sunglasses black as beetles. She waved like a queen. Rules are rules, Ephraim, she called, voice bright. The neighbor's blinds blinked nervously. I am 75, not made of glass. Still, that number sliced my month in half. Medicine on one side, groceries on the other. I lifted the slip as if it were burning. My sister, Zephra, had warned me to sell. You can't fight an HF, she said. But this land held June's wind chimes, my workbench, my truck. I wasn't ready to leave. I stared at the garage door. I can't lift alone anymore. My truck never fit well anyway. Karen knew that. She wanted me soft, quiet, and gone. I could taste it. I slid the ticket in my pocket, felt my heartbeat steady. I wasn't a soldier anymore, but I remembered how to stand. I decided to read every rule she ever waved. From her yard, Karen blew me a kiss like a dare. I smiled back, thin and hard. Inside, I sharpened a pencil and opened the bylaws. The first sentence cracked something open. The blinds across the street twitched again, like nervous birds. I said to the empty kitchen, "Okay, June. Watch this." Then I turned to section 12 and found a line that hummed. The words were small, but they carried heat. Reasonable accommodations for mobility shall be considered upon written request. My right knee buzzed like a hornet. My cane leaned against the refrigerator, listening. I read again, slower. A doctor's letter. A request to the board. A timeline they must follow. Karen had never mentioned any of this during her driveway sermons. That felt important. Outside, her husband, Doyle, dragged their shiny canoe across their driveway. It sat there every weekend. I took a picture. Rule 7 banned recreational equipment left visible. My finger steadied on the camera. Zephra, you sound huffy, she said. Don't stroke yourself. I told her about the orange slip and the secret sentence. She sighed. Please. Just sell to Calder Properties. Be done. Not yet, I said. June planted the lilacs with me. They're still here. Silence. Then my sister muttered something about old men and stubborn ghosts. She promised to bring soup anyway. After lunch, I limped to my truck and measured the driveway with chalk lines, like a coach. If I backed close to the garage, I wouldn't block the sidewalk. Pictures, time-stamped. I typed a letter in simple words. My knee limits walking. Please allow driveway parking as a reasonable accommodation. I printed it 3 times and signed each in careful pen. At the mailbox cluster, I slipped the envelopes in, 1 to the board, 1 to the property manager, 1 to myself. Paper trails keep promises when voices lie. I breathed easier, finally. When I turned around, a tow truck idled by my curb. The driver rolled down his window. Order from the HOA, he said. My jaw tightened as I stepped between him and my truck. The driver looked bored, like a man waiting for rain. Sir, please move, he said. His hat said, Ramrock Recovery. My cane tapped the concrete. I said, that truck doesn't move. Karen marched over, perfume hitting first. You were warned, Ephraim, she sang. Unpaid fine. Removal authorized. She waved her clipboard as if it were a badge. Neighbors cracked doors, curious and scared. I lifted my phone. This is harassment, I said loudly, for the recording. I requested accommodation today. The board must pause enforcement until they answer. The driver glanced at Karen, confusion widening. Karen sneered. He's making things up. I showed the time-stamped receipt email from the property manager's auto-reply. The The driver rubbed his chin. "Ma'am, we can't touch it if there's dispute." Her mouth pinched into a mean line. "You'll regret this," she whispered, so only I could hear. "Seniors forget things. You'll forget this war." She walked away, heels snapping like traps. I turned to the driver and offered him a bottle of cold water. He took it, nodded once, and left. My legs wobbled. I sat on the front step, sweat salty and proud. That night, someone tossed eggs at my window. The shells slid down like yellow tears. I cleaned them slow, talking to June. "Karen's scared," I said. "Scared people make messes." In bed, my knee pulsed. I opened the HOA documents again. The penalties doubled every 30 days. The board met on Thursdays. Tomorrow was Thursday. My letter would be on their table. Before sleep grabbed me, I wrote 3 questions for public comments. When I closed my eyes, I pictured Karen's canoe, shining like a witness. Dawn would need proof, not anger. The community room at 1199 Quiverleaf Plaza always smells like lemon wipes and carpet glue. Folding chairs scraped. A flag sagged on a brass pole. Karen sat centered, wearing victory-like lipstick. "Public comment," she announced, smile tight. I stood, cane steady, notes shaking a little. "My name is Ephraim Doss, 4521 Larkspur Cut. I requested reasonable accommodation yesterday. Here's my doctor's note." The room hummed. I handed copies to board members. Ilias, Moraine, and Fenn. Uncommon names, uncommon courage, I hoped. Karen didn't reach for hers. She watched me like a hawk watches mice. "My truck keeps me independent," I said. "Garage door is too heavy. Stairs inside are dangerous. I park close so I can carry food, medicine, and pride." Simple words. True words. Karen cleared her throat. "The board has 30 days, she said, but fines already stand." I shook my head. Selective enforcement is unlawful. I slid photos of her canoe, time-stamped Saturdays, sunny. Moraine's eyebrows rose. Ilias adjusted his glasses. Fenn whispered something. Karen's face remained carved stone. "Thank you, Mr. Doss," she said coldly. "We'll deliberate. Please sit." Her voice pressed me down. I didn't sit. "One more," I said. "Threatening towing during a pending accommodation violates your own rules. I'm requesting a temporary stay on all penalties." The silence felt like thin ice under boots. Finally, Ilias spoke. "I motioned for a temporary stay until review." Fenn nodded. Moraine nodded. Karen paused, then forced, "Motion carries." A shiver ran through the room like relief finally exhaled. On my way out, Doyle brushed past me and muttered, "You poked the nest, Grandpa." I smiled. Nests fall when the branch shakes. Outside, the night air tasted like chance and new footing. By morning, a letter appeared on my porch. "Stay granted. Investigation ongoing." I pinned it to the fridge like a child's art. My phone buzzed with 3 unknown numbers before breakfast. The first voice was the property manager, Valina. "Please forward any medical documentation," she said softly. I emailed everything. The second voice belonged to an attorney named Huxley Ramos, neighbor, 2 houses over. Huxley said, "I've been watching. They fined my aunt for wind chimes. I'll help you pro bono." His words felt like someone handing me a second cane. I thanked him until he laughed nervously. Zephyr arrived with carrot soup and skepticism. "You're trending on NeighborhoodNet," she sighed, showing me a thread. Karen's friends called me Driveway Grandpa. Others posted heart emojis. Their bravery hid behind usernames. We sat at my table, steam fogging her glasses. "You sure you're okay?" she asked. "Okay enough," I said. "Better when folks stop hiding." She squeezed my hand, then offered a surprising confession. "Calder Properties offered me a commission if I talked you into selling," she said quietly. I said no. But I thought about it. I stared at her, sad and grateful together. "I need you with me," I said. "Not perfect. Present." She nodded, cheeks red. We made a plan, collect stories of selective enforcement. Truth makes patterns. Patterns make change. That afternoon, Huxley came by with a printer and patience. We built a binder labeled Larkspur Evidence. Photos, dates, quotes. Doyle's canoe. Karen's floodlight exceeding wattage limits. 3 board minutes missing signatures. At dusk, someone placed a fresh orange slip on my windshield. I smiled and left it there, then angled a porch camera right at it. Sometimes light should meet paper, not fists. The next day, Valina called again. Your camera footage shows an unapproved person placing notices, she said. Only the property manager may serve them. We need a copy for records. My eyebrows climbed skyward. I sent the clip. It showed Karen stepping onto my driveway at 4:12 a.m., slippers squeaking, robe flapping, posting the slip, and scurrying away. The timestamp glowed like a small, calm torchlight. Huxley grinned when he saw it. This is gold, he said. Harassment, not notice. We'll request sanctions. He drafted a letter that read simple and sharp, like a razor wrapped in cotton. Zephyr read it and exhaled. I like it, she said. It sounds polite and dangerous. I felt the same. We included the canoe photos again, because patterns matter. We copied every board member. That evening, a group gathered on my lawn with camp chairs, neighbors I knew by dogs, not names. A woman introduced herself as Tamsin from 4528. They find my raised bed, she confessed, voice shaking. A bearded man, Oren, admitted they charged him for a faded mailbox while Karen's own numbers peeled. Another neighbor, Mireya, cried describing a lean threat during her chemotherapy. We recorded statements and passed lemonade. Under string lights, for the first time, we felt like a street again. Not subjects. Neighbors. Someone started humming, "This land is your land." I laughed and clapped off beat, knee throbbing, heart steady. At 10, patrol lights washed the curb. A sheriff's deputy stepped out, hand light on his belt. Noise complaint, he said, glancing at Karen's dark window. We lowered voices, but stayed. The deputy leaned close to me and whispered, "We've had 3 calls from this street. I'm just saying, document everything." He tipped his hat, and I realized the wind had shifted our way. A special hearing was called at 77 Pinnacle Hollow, the rented suite behind the dry cleaner. Karen's lipstick was the color of warning signs. She smiled like a locked door. We took our seats. Valina opened the meeting. "We've received a reasonable accommodation request," she said, "with medical support." Karen interrupted, "Fines are about community standards, not pity." The room winced. Huxley tapped his pen. I stood with my binder. "This is about fairness," I said. "And safety. I can't climb stairs with sacks of groceries. Parking near my door keeps me out of hospitals." Heads nodded slowly. Then I laid out the pattern. Canoe weekends, floodlight watts, unsigned minutes, the 4:12 a.m. footage. When the video showed on the wall, the room gasped like a single creature. Karen's jaw clenched. Huxley asked for the stay to become permanent accommodation. He asked for the $700 fine canceled and a written apology placed on the community bulletin. He asked for a review of selective enforcement complaints. Karen finally spoke. "This is character assassination," she hissed. "If we allow driveway parking, this place becomes a scrapyard." I lifted a photo of her husband's spotless canoe. It gleamed like a truth coin. Moraine cleared her throat. "We can craft narrow accommodations. Mobility-based, by application, renewed yearly." Ilias nodded. Fenn whispered, "And perhaps a code of conduct for officers." Silence gathered like rain clouds. They asked us to wait in the hall. The dry cleaner machine thumped behind the wall. Zephyr squeezed my shoulder. "If they say no," she whispered, "we make bigger noise." I smiled. 20 minutes later, the door opened. Valina's eyes were damp. "Please come in," she said. Her voice shook a little, like a leaf deciding whether to fall or hold. Valina read slowly. "The board grants a reasonable accommodation to Mr. Ephraim Doss for driveway parking, subject to safety lines and sidewalk clearance." I felt heat leave my shoulders. My cane suddenly weighed less. She continued, "The prior $700 fine is canceled. Any duplicate notices are void. The board will investigate officer conduct, including unauthorized enforcement actions. Karen stared forward, a statue trying not to blink. Huxley rose. We appreciate the relief, he said. One more request, a community forum for complaints without fear. Anonymous submissions allowed. Murmurs lifted like birds. Moraine scribbled, then nodded thoughtfully. Karen finally turned. Are we rewarding noncompliance? She asked, voice threadbare. I answered before anyone else. We're rewarding honesty, I said. And difference. I'm old, not broken. That matters here. The board scheduled the forum for the following Wednesday. Outside, neighbors hugged me, clapped my back, handed me Tupperware. I tasted cinnamon and victory. Zephyr grinned, eyes wet and bright. That night, someone left a white envelope on my mat. Inside was a note. Thank you for standing up. I'm scared to sign my name. 4523. Courage sometimes starts with no signature. In the morning, the bulletin board announced my accommodation in plain, kind words. Underneath, someone posted a screenshot of the 4:12 a.m. clip with a caption, "Rules are for everyone." Laughter bubbled warmly. Around noon, a realtor's sign appeared briefly on Karen's lawn, then vanished like a guilty thought. Doyle ripped it out, muttering, I filmed nothing. Sometimes silence feels like a wise, heavy blanket. By sunset, a new letter arrived from Calder Properties addressed to Zephyra, mentioning incentives again. She sucked her teeth, tore it up, and said, tell them to offer cookies instead. I'm staying. The forum filled fast. A paper sign read, Willow Spire Community Listening. Moraine held a jar for anonymous notes. I brought copies of a simple checklist. Be fair. Be clear. Be kind. Document. Mireia spoke first, voice fragile as tissue. I had chemo. They fined me for forgettable weeds. Her husband, Basil, showed his bank statement, hands shaking. Huxley calmly explained payment plans and hardship waivers. Orrin raised the peeling numbers photo. If my mailbox is wrong, so is the president's, he said. People chuckled. Not cruel laughter, relief laughter. We had lived under a thumb so long. Karen stood, chin high. This is turning into a grievance circus, she said. I've given years to this place. I nodded. And now we're giving it back to each other, I answered softly. A teenager named Lita stepped forward. My mom cried over a garden gnome, she said. Please let people be a little weird. The room clapped. Small applause, like rain starting on leaves. Valina proposed a new rule, warnings first, fines last. Written standards equal for all. Doyle muttered, but even he seemed tired. Ilias added a sunset review. Every rule expires unless renewed by vote. We voted for a temporary code of conduct. We scheduled elections next month. Karen's eyes flickered, calculating. Power rarely leaves quietly. My knee throbbed, but my voice stayed steady. As people filed out, Karen approached. You embarrassed me, she whispered. You made me small. I held her gaze. I just made you equal, I said. Equal can feel small when you're used to tall. She stepped back, cheeks cold. This isn't over, she said. I smiled kindly. For once, I replied, that sounds like good news. Outside, the sky turned lavender, and porch lights clicked on like stars. This morning, 2 weeks after the orange slip, I painted white lines on my driveway, neat, bright, careful. Orrin brought a level, Tamsin brought tape. We measured distance from the sidewalk together, laughing. Zephyra planted marigolds along the edge. Guard flowers, she called them. She placed June's wind chimes back on the hook. The metal tongues sang little silver memories. My chest felt heavy and sweet. Valina arrived with a clipboard and a smile. Looks compliant, she said, stamping a form. Thank you for teaching us with patience. I shook her hand. Not enemies. Neighbors learning how to be neighbors. Huxley handed me a plain envelope. Inside, a check from the HOA labeled refund of erroneous fine. $700. We took a photo of me holding it, grinning like a foolish boy. I slid the money into an envelope marked community. Mireya's medical fund. Lita's school drive. Basil's mailbox numbers. Karen taught us something, I said. Control breaks people apart. Generosity stitches us back. Across the street, the canoe sat on a trailer with a fresh permit sticker. Doyle waved awkwardly. I waved back. Civility ain't friendship, but it's a good fence, straight and sturdy. Karen stepped outside, looked at my painted lines, then at the bulletin board notice about elections. She met my eyes. For a second, we were just two tired people wanting quiet. I tipped my cap and said, "Good morning." She nodded, almost human. The wind carried the chimes across the cul-de-sac. The sound made the houses feel closer, less defended, more true. Tonight, we're hosting a driveway supper, chili, cornbread, folding chairs. We'll tell the story again, louder, clearer. Karen fined me $700 for parking in my own driveway, I'll say. And that's when we remembered us.